adlaw atong ibalik sa iyang Pinoyanan si Raha kabungsuan. Tungod kay kita nasayod nga kini ang labing maayong buhaton. Pagtinabangay, mitang tanan, alang sa kaayuhan o kalambuan sa mga Philippine Eagle. Ang atong kalihukan karon mao'y sinugdan sa atong hiniusang paningkamot alang niini nga pakigpiso.
It was important to me that when I came here, I'll be giving full support to the Philippine Eagle. And it is good that now the community itself is declaring its commitment to support the Philippine Eagle, even beyond its rehabilitation.
Yes, the discovery of the Philippine Eagle, Raha Kabungsuan, here in Lingig, Surigao del Sur is of course a very important discovery because it is an indication that the forests of Lingig in Surigao del Sur can still sustain a Philippine eagle. The addition of the eagle Raha Kabungsuan is of course a very welcome information for all of us, and because we know that the Philippine eagle does not only represent its own species but an entire ecosystem. And it should be that ecosystem which should be given attention and protection.
Ang dakong value nga nahatag sa Philippine Eagle sa ato sa pag-release karon mao ang dakong katilingban para gayud kini siya nga Philippine Eagle mahimutang gayud sa maayo nga sitwasyon din sa pagkakaron dako gayud kinig balor kanamo nga diin bisan luyo sa among pagkamanubo ma'am sir di nakahatag gayud kini og pag-enhance sa among panglantaw dito sa komunidad.
Nakita namo nga aniya sila namuyo ang mga endangered species like Philippine eagle. Dako kayo namong gipasalamat gani man nga inyong nahatagan og panahon nga mabalik sa among komunidad. Isa kini nga dako kayo nigbili para sa mua. Ang among maitabang kay Philippine eagle, kay Raha Kabungsuan, no? Ang pagprotekta o pag-alalay sa pagmonitor kung asa siya.
Most of us have never ventured into the mountain forests of our beautiful country. But there are those who spend months at a time navigating this challenging environment. These individuals are driven by a single purpose: to save the great Philippine eagle. These biologists are with the Philippine Eagle Foundation, and they are on their way to release one of the rarest animals on Earth back into the wild. They call him Matatag. Although few of us have seen a Philippine eagle in the wild, its image is familiar to us. The eagle is embedded in our stories and in our culture. It is one of our most powerful national symbols. But the status of the eagle is also an urgent reminder of our strained relationship with nature. We have seen the loss of the forests around us, and there have been consequences for both people and eagles alike. In the early 1960s, renowned biologist Professor Dioscoro Robor was the first to study the great eagle. He was also the first to sound the alarm that the fragmenting of our forests was taking a tragic toll on the species. Today, the forests have dwindled even further, and the eagle's population has plummeted from thousands to just several hundred individuals. Every remaining eagle is precious. The death of one can have a serious impact on the population as a whole. Matatag was brought to the foundation critically wounded, a survivor of a near-fatal gunshot injury. Like many eagles, Matatag was shot while searching for food in nearby farmlands. With the loss of forests and the prey they provided, the eagles have been forced into the open and into new conflicts. Since the 1970s, the Foundation has cared for dozens of injured birds. But securing the future of an entire species requires a bigger investment. It takes tracking the movement of eagles to understand and protect where they nest and forage, raising eagle chicks for reintroduction into the wild, and working with communities to ensure that eagles and people peacefully coexist. Matatag is one of the many eagles fortunate enough to return home. However, the hope is that one day such releases will become unnecessary, that our eagles will be cherished and not harmed, and our connection to them restored. By protecting the Philippine eagle, we are saving our forests. And by saving our forests, we will secure our own livelihood and our nation's future.
adlaw atong ibalik sa iyang Pinoyanan si Raha kabungsuan. Tungod kay kita nasayod nga kini ang labing maayong buhaton. Pagtinabangay itang tanan alang sa kaayuhan o kalambuan sa mga Philippine Eagle. Ang atong kalihukan karon mao'y sinugdan sa atong hiniusang paningkamot alang niini nga pakigpiso.
It was important to me that when I came here, I'll be giving full support to the Philippine Eagle. And it is good that now the community itself is declaring its commitment to support the Philippine Eagle, even beyond its rehabilitation.
Yes, the discovery of the Philippine Eagle Raha kabungsuan here in Lingig, Surigao del Sur is of course a very important discovery because it is an indication that the forests of Lingig in Surigao del Sur can still sustain a Philippine eagle. The addition of the eagle Raha kabungsuan is of course a very welcome information for all of us, and because we know that the Philippine eagle does not only represent its own species but an entire ecosystem. And it should be that ecosystem which should be given attention and protection.
Ang dakong balyo nga nahatag sa Philippine Eagle sa ato sa pag-release karon mao ang dakong katilingban para gayud kini siya nga Philippine Eagle mahimutang gayud sa maayo nga sitwasyon din sa pagkakaron dako gayud kinig balor kanamo nga diin bisan luyo sa among pagkamanubo ma'am sir di nakahatag gayud kini og pag-enhance sa among panglantaw dito sa komunidad.
Nakita namo nga aniya sila namuyo ang mga endangered species like Philippine eagle. Dako kayo namong gipasalamat gani man nga inyong nahatagan og panahon nga mabalik sa among komunidad. Isa kini nga dako kayo nigbili para sa mua. Ang among maitabang kay Philippine eagle, kay Raha kabungsuan, no? Ang pagprotekta o pag-alalay sa pagmonitor kung asa siya.
Good morning, everyone. To start today's program, we would like to request everyone to stand for the opening prayer and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Ideas to be shared with ease despite physical distance. You bring us closer to each other in an instance, and even strangers. You help us build new friendships as your virtual messengers. Send your Holy Spirit to inspire us as we begin this online gathering. Bless everyone who toiled to make possible, the speakers, the facilitators, the technical crew, as well as the participants and viewers. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and
Thank you very much. Please be seated. It is said that Mindanao is the promised land, surrounded by bountiful seas, home of peace-loving people, and the majestic Philippine eagle. It is with great pride to welcome everyone to the Caraga leg launch of AgiLAYA. Today, we take on the important task in spreading awareness and participating in the conservation of the endangered Philippine eagle. Before we start today's activities, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our guests from Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the Department of Education, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Butuan, represented by no other than Bishop Cosme Damian Almedelia, DD, our guest, the predeconates from Diocese of Butuan, our guest from Philippine Science High School, Caraga, guests from our local government unit in Butuan, Caraga State University, the private schools in Agusan del Norte, Science and Social Sciences Faculty, the Boy Scouts of the Philippines, the Rover Scouts, the Basic Education Faculty and SSG officers of FSUU, and the Arts and Sciences Program Faculty of FSUU. Let us also give a warm Butuanon welcome to our Philippine Eagle experts, the Executive Director of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Mr. Dennis Salvador, the Director for Research and Conservation of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Dr. Jason Ibanez, and lastly, our guest of honor, Dr. Robert Kennedy. I also would like to remind everyone that there are merchandisers for sale from the Philippine Eagle Foundation, and these are displayed just outside the conference room. Also, before we start with our program, I would like to remind everyone that our toilet is located outside this conference room at the back portion. And now, to formally open our program, please help me welcome the President of Father Saturnino Orios University, Reverend Father John Christian Yu Young, for his opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Bob, Dennis, the ED of Philippine Eagle Foundation, ARD Matneto Campo, Bishop Meng, the Bishop of Butuan is here. He's seated at the please raise your hand, Bishop. Very shy Bishop. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come to this launch of the Caraga leg of the AgiLAYA, no? A campaign to save the Philippine eagle, put simply. When Jason of the Philippine Eagle Foundation got in touch with me about and asking about our willingness to host this launch of AgiLAYA, this campaign featuring documentary film showing about the Philippine eagle and a lecture by Dr. Bob Kennedy, I willingly agreed. No? And as an aside, as a young college student, no, studying zoology at the University of the Philippines, I actually listened to Dr. Bob give a lecture about the Philippine eagle, no, almost 40 years ago. So to me, it's a nice coincidence that today we cross paths again. Of course, I was a mere student then. But I do remember his lecture and what his advocacy was about. And I remember then, the eagle was not yet popularly known as the Philippine eagle. It was known as the monkey-eating eagle. And I understand that Bob is a very important part of this campaign to raise consciousness about the eagle, the Philippine eagle, and how important it is for us Filipinos, no? Both as a symbol and really as a commentary on how we need to really protect our environment, no? The habitat of the eagle, to educate the communities, to look at other social issues that contribute to the degradation of our environment, which is really affecting the existence of the eagle. As many of you know, I am very active with the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. And the Boy Scouts of the Philippines adopted the Philippine eagle as the highest rank, no? The Eagle Scout rank, the highest rank of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. And we have Eagle Scouts with us today, our aspiring Eagle Scouts. And it is important for not just them, but all of us to realize that the eagle really is in many ways symbolic of, I would say, the state of the Philippines today. And that the struggle to save it really is, if we really think about it, a struggle to progress as a country and as a people. Last night, I was in a discussion with Bob and ARD Matet and Dennis. They were talking about the complexity of what needs to be done. And this launch is just, a beginning. Again, I mean, we have begun. Bob has begun his work many, many years ago. The Philippine Eagle Foundation has done a lot. But really, at this point, when we are talking about a climate emergency, we really do need to include and put at the forefront this great symbol of, to me, the Philippines. So welcome to this launch, and I hope that it be both fruitful and informative. So welcome.
By the IUCN, or the International Union of the Conservation of Nature. So to start our series of Philippine Eagle Talks for today's AgiLAYA campaign, we begin with an overview of today's film showing, To Save Our Eagle. So please help me welcome the Executive Director of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Mr. Dennis Salvador. A round of applause, please.
Thank you so much. First, let me thank Father John, Bishop, and the Urios family for having us. This film you're about to see began more than 50 years ago when a Peace Corps volunteer began research in response to Dr. Jos Cororabor's call for the IUCN to take a look at the plight of what was then known as the monkey-eating eagle. This was a time when we used to have vast forest resources and logging was in its prime. It was a time when an expedition meant walking for days on end. A time when going out on fieldwork could mean getting caught in a crossfire. Working under adverse conditions, his research eventually evolved into a conservation program. This was the seed that later became the Philippine Eagle Foundation. And that Peace Corps volunteer is with us today, Dr. Robert Bob Kennedy. Bob was later joined by a group of young men who helped put his research work on film. For 30 years, this was the main film and the primary resource for education and awareness campaigns in the uplands and even in urban areas throughout the country. But in 2010, one of the men who worked with Bob, Neil Rettig, came back to do another documentary with the help of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. By now, Neil is now a multi-awarded cinematographer. This time, they used ultra-high-definition cameras, which is a huge contrast to what they had then. It took them more than 6 months to film, and with hundreds of hours of footages, it took another 2 years for the story to unfold. We would have loved to present this to you on a bigger screen as early as 2 years ago. But as you know, COVID caught up with us. The pandemic now more than ever underscores the need to protect our natural environment, the forest, our wildlife, our seas, and our rivers. Here we present a glimpse of what the breeding biology of the eagle, great Philippine eagle, is. It will also introduce the Philippine Eagle Foundation. While this movie focuses mainly on the science and research part, the bigger aspect of our work with human communities is absent in this film. That perhaps will be the subject of another documentary. Still, the movie captures what we've done and achieved to help save the Philippine eagle, despite the meager resources available to us. Yet these achievements pale in comparison to the challenges that lay ahead. To save the great Philippine eagle, much more needs to be done. We'll need everyone's help to make this work. We hope that these images and its message bring our national bird closer to your hearts. We hope through this, you'll appreciate why this is our national bird. Thank you all for taking time to watch this movie and hearing Bob out present his story. Please get involved and join us in this mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Salvador. So this time, I think let's have the film showing proper. Thank you very much, Philippine Eagle Foundation, for the very beautiful film. I hope everyone learned a lot about the world of our great Philippine eagle and how we can protect and conserve our national bird. It is also fascinating to note that we have an inspiring group of people who are working to prevent the extinction of one of the rarest eagle species in the world. By the way, for our online viewers watching our Facebook Live, kindly register on the link provided in the comment section to watch the full film. Now, we take it up a notch and talk more about the state of our national bird. Friends, let us welcome the Director for Research and Conservation of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Dr. Jason Ibanez. A round of applause, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam MC. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure you both enjoyed and at the same time felt the plea of our national bird. So at this juncture, I would like also to share that there's a longer version of this film. The title of that film is Bird of Prey. What you saw is the 45-minute cut. Now, the 90-minute longer version or full length is available on the YouTube channel of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. They're the producer and director of this film. And in that film, you'll see more of the epic footages of Dr. Bob Kennedy's journey, his pioneering efforts to do research and, of course, jumpstart the conservation of the Philippine eagle in our country. So please do check that longer version of the film. So at this juncture, my role is basically to add more information about the status of our national bird, but I guess I need not exaggerate. But some phrases that has been used to describe the beauty, the elegance, and the power of our national bird are, of course, the air's noblest flyer, no? Diamond of birds, king of birds. And basically, this emphasizes, how precious our national bird is. No, it's very easy to fall in love with our national symbol. And again, there are many reasons why we cannot fail to love our national bird. No, first and foremost, like everyone here, the Philippine eagle is as Filipino as every citizen of this country. It's only found in the Philippines, only on 4 islands, namely Luzon, Leyte, Samar, and Mindanao. And based on our research and studies, it appears that Mindanao is the stronghold for the wild population. Out of perhaps 300 to 400 pairs, 2/3 or over 200 pairs are actually found on Mindanao. So again, Mindanao is a stronghold for Philippine eagles. Another important reason, or several reasons why we can love our national bird, is the fact that it also manifests human values that we also share. No? One, of course, is being monogamous. No, eagle couples pair or mate for life. No? Sana all. Diba? So our Philippine eagle is very loyal to its mate. It's also very loyal to the places where they breed. Okay, nest sites are very important to them. Eagle pairs across generations use the same nest site over and over again. So if we want to save our national bird, we should find as many, if not all, of these nesting places, get it protected, so that breeding continues and the species will continue to thrive. They're also superb parents, as you saw in the film. There are apex or top predator, but during nesting season, they transform to a caring and loyal parent. They rear only one chick every 2 years. No? So they're slow breeders. And that's why they're also considered to be one of the rarest birds of prey in the world. And last but not the least, they're our apex predator. No, we don't have tigers, we don't have lions, no, we don't have the charismatic carnivores, but we have one of the largest, one of the fiercest bird of prey or raptor as our top predator. And we all know the value of having apex predators. No, they maintain forest ecosystem health because they check the numbers of their prey animals. No, the Philippine eagle feeds on at least 16 species of animals, no, including snakes, cobras, rodents, monkeys, palm civets, and they keep the population of these animals in check so that they don't deplete the forest resources. For all of you who are from Caraga region, you're blessed to have wild Philippine eagles. This is a map of Mount Hilong-Hilong Key Biodiversity Area, one of the largest key biodiversity areas in Eastern Mindanao, and you have at least 8 Philippine eagle territories within Mount Hilong-Hilong. One is in Higakit, another along the boundary of Cantilan and Carrascal. You have another territory in Tandag, in Bayabas, in Sibagat, in Butuan, also in Santiago, and then also in San Luis. But if you look at the map, you still have substantial forest in between these territories. So we think that there are more eagles that needs to be found within Mount Hilong-Hilong. And then of course you have the Bislig Key Biodiversity Area where we know of at least 3 Philippine eagle territories. So we've been working with the DNR Caraga region, trying to locate and find and also monitor and protect. And they're doing a good job at protecting the Bislig KBA territories. There's one in Bislig City. I'm happy to announce that the latest eaglet has been documented recently with a photo. You have a 6 to 7 month old healthy eaglet, which is being cared for by a pair in Bislig City right now. There's also a pair in Lingig. And then lastly in Trento, Agusan del Sur. But unfortunately, despite the national and global fame of our Philippine eagles, not all Filipinos still value them as we value these birds. No, shooting, trapping, and habitat loss continues. The Philippine Eagle Foundation have existed for the past 35 years. Now we're celebrating our 35th year founding anniversary, and we have helped the government rescue 92 Philippine eagles so far. And 70% of these rescue cases are associated with human persecution. Again, shooting, hunting, trapping, as well as stealing or the stealing of eaglets from the nests. So 70%, 7 out of 10 rescues that we've done for the past 35 years are actually related to human persecution. The case of Philippine eagle Tagunon, who was rescued in 2017 is, I guess, the worst rescue case. The bird was accidentally trapped in a native trap that's intended for pigs and wild pigs and deer. We all know the Philippine eagle as the masters of the skies, but they also love walking on the forest floor to hunt rodents and snakes. And that's how they end up getting accidentally trapped in native traps intended for deer and wild pig. Now, it's very sad that Philippine eagle Tagunon was maltreated by its captor. He was beaten several times, and his wing bone got broken in several pieces. Unfortunately, Philippine eagle Tagunon died after surgery. Another case of accidental trapping is Philippine eagle Lantapan in 2013. She choked to death, again after getting caught in a noose trap intended for other wild animals. Shooting and hunting also continues. This is a photo of next slide please, a Philippine eagle that was monitored in Sumilao, Bukidnon, and this bird was shot. No, there was a crack on its keel bone again, and there's an evidence that it was shot. And these trends continue. Sadly, even during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we've rescued a total of 13 Philippine eagles. And this is the highest rescue rate ever in the history of Philippine eagle conservation. Next slide, please. Some of the cases, you have here Philippine eagle Balikatan. No, he was shot using a Jolen gun, an improvised firearm, and he lost his left eye after getting hit by the marble or Jolen from the Jolen gun. Now, Jolen guns are illegal firearms, and this is starting to be popular in the uplands for wildlife hunting. So, Balikatan is no longer fit to be released back to the wild because he is half blind. He's now at the Philippine Eagle Center. This is Philippine Eagle Caraga, a victim of retaliatory trapping. Philippine Eagle Caraga preyed on a domestic pig. And as you well know, in the uplands, domestic animals are more important. No? They're valued more than Philippine eagles. So to get back at the eagle, the farmer shot the bird using an air gun, as you can see in the x-ray. And that bird had a fractured right leg. The bird is now at the Philippine Eagle Center for permanent safekeeping. Next slide, please. And this is Philippine Eagle Raha Kabungsuan, rescued from Lingig. He's also a victim of accidental trapping, and we were able to release this bird back to the wild together with the DNR and other partners last year. Next slide, please. Another victim of Jolen gun shooting. The red circle shows the actual marble lodged on its shoulder. And then beside it is an air gun pellet lodged close to the neck. So these are clear evidences that, again, our eagles are still being harmed in the wild. Next slide, please. And last but not the least, a 2-month-old eaglet was stolen from a nest in Bukidnon in 2021. We had to negotiate with the farmer for the safe turnover of this bird. And this bird is now at the Philippine Eagle Center, reared in isolation, and hopefully we can release it also back to the wild. So these are clear cases that our national bird needs our help. And that's why we're here, to make this plea for everyone to participate in this national movement to save our imperiled national bird. And how can you help? Now, there are 3 ways that you can help. First is, please share this information to your friends, to your family members, to your relatives, everyone. You're just a share or click away. Social media has become a very important awareness and advocacy tool. Please use that opportunity. Next is, please volunteer your talent. While I'm speaking here, there is a group of students, student artists, painting a mural in Davao City to popularize the planting of native trees to bring back habitats for wildlife. Another group of students in Caraga, North Cotabato is also nurturing a new forest as an additional habitat for a pair in Mount Sinaca. Mount Sinaca, by the way, is the place where the Philippine eagle family in the film is located. And then, last but not the least, please support community-based conservation. There are Filipinos who unfortunately continue to harm our eagles, but there are also communities who are helping out through forest guarding. Now, these communities are living close to Philippine eagle nesting sites. They're scattered across Mindanao, and we think that the only way to further motivate them and support them is to go to these communities, find ways how you can help and support them. I believe that the Philippine eagle, like all of us here, have the same yearnings or aspirations. No? They want a safe habitat where they can raise their family, no, safely. They want to have an area where they could hunt also safely, and they want to have their bloodline persevere or continue to thrive up to the future. No? So that's our call. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Ibanez, for that insightful talk and for raising awareness regarding the state of our national bird. Indeed, it is true that we each play a vital role in the conservation of not only the Philippine eagle, but also the environment that we live in. This time, let us pause for a while as we will be entertained by a song number from one of the many beautiful voices from FSUU. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please for Miss Hannah Hakimi.
Return to a land called Paraiso, a place where a dying river ends. No birds dare fly over Paraiso. No space allows them to endure the smoke that screens the air, the grass that's never there. And if I could see a single bird, what a joy. I tried to write some verse and create a simple song to be heard by the rest of the world. I live in this land called Paraiso, in a house made of cardboard floors and walls. I learned to be free in Paraiso, free to play see a single bird, what a joy this tired and hungry land could expect. Some truth and hope and respect from the rest of the world. Paraiso, help me make a stand. Paraiso, take me by the hand. Paraiso, make the world understand that if I could see a single bird, what a joy this tired and hungry land could expect. Some truth and hope and respect from the rest. That if I could see a single bird, what a joy this tired and hungry land could expect. Some truth and hope and respect from the rest of the world.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah Hakami, for that very inspiring song and for the wonderful number. Now, let's have a 10-minute break, snack break, and we will resume our program after the break. Thank you. Snacks are served at the back, so you may help yourselves for the snacks. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So while we are having our snacks, you may also check the merchandisers from Philippine. Good morning, everyone. We continue with our program. So we now move forward to our guests of honor. Bob Kennedy has been an ornithologist and naturalist for over 50 years. He has traveled the world studying birds and has led more than 34 expeditions into the remote rainforest of the Philippines, where he and his team have discovered more than a dozen new species of animals to science, including 3 new birds. He graduated from the College of William and Mary with a BA in 1970 and an MA in 1971, and from Louisiana State University with a PhD in 1977. He has held academic positions at Oklahoma State University, Washington State University, Yale University, University of Cincinnati, Harvard University, and University of Massachusetts, Boston. He has published over 65 scientific and popular articles on birds, including the definitive A Guide to the Birds of the Philippines, published in 2000 by Oxford University Press. He is an elective member and fellow of the American Ornithologists Union. Bob is a triathlete, a marathon, ultramarathon runner, a swimmer and biker, and has recently started snowshoe racing. He has raced in 2 full Ironman triathlons, run 260 marathons including 36 ultras, has completed marathons in all 50 states 3 times, has qualified for the Boston Marathon in marathons in all 50 states, and has won his age group in a marathon in all 50 states. Bob is married to Dr. Ann Broussard, a former Associate Dean of the College of Health and Human Services at the University of New Hampshire, and they have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. Bob lives in Durham, New Hampshire, where he continues research and consulting with birds and owns the Oyster River Running Company that focuses on USA track and field race course certification and race management. Here to share his personal journey with the Philippine Eagle Conservation Program, prolific ornithologist and pioneer of Philippine eagle research and conservation, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please for Dr. Robert S. Kennedy.
Thank you for that introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here to share some of my experiences, but I want to thank everybody for the invitation to be here, and I'm hoping that my short talk will give you a little background on the history of the Eagles and my involvement in it. My story actually began a long, long time ago. Because for some reason, I felt that in another life, I was a Filipino. And that's why I keep coming back to the Philippines, what I call my second home. Also, in another life, I think I was a Philippine eagle. Because I have a passion for this bird that is unequaled, I think, certainly in my own family. So those are reasons why I keep coming back. The Philippine eagle was only discovered in 1896. So that was less than, 150 years ago. Actually, 130 years ago. And in the 1960s, Philippine scientist Dr. Dioscoro-Robor was announcing to the world that the Philippine eagle, then called the monkey-eating eagle, was so rare that all conservationists around the world should be concerned about its future. And his pleas to the international conservation world was heard by many organizations, and among them was a world-renowned figure, Charles Lindbergh, the first aviator to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. Charles Lindbergh came to the Philippines in the very early 1970s and encouraged the Philippine government to establish a program for the eagles. But I want to just step back. So that kind of brings it up to where my involvement started. As a graduate student at the College of William and Mary in Virginia, I was studying ospreys, a bird of prey that eats fish, dives in the water and eats fish. Very beautiful and dynamic bird. But when I was finishing my master's, I wanted to find a major professor for my doctoral dissertation, and I wanted a subject of which to study, and I wanted it to be a bird of prey. I went to, I guess, let me just step back. There are several events in my life, in the history of my involvement with the Philippine eagle, that are very serendipitous. They happened, I think, because I was a Filipino at one time, and that I was a Philippine eagle at one time. Because these events wouldn't make sense if that wasn't so. So let me tell you when I first became aware of the monkey-eating eagle. At the conference in Buffalo, New York, this is where all of the American ornithologists were gathered for their annual meeting. It was held at a museum, and at that museum, in a corner of a small exhibit hall, was a small cabinet. And in that cabinet was a mounted specimen of the Philippine eagle. Now, how many of you in the audience have fallen in love at first sight? Raise your hand. I hope all of you at some point in your life have fallen in love at first sight. Okay. When I saw that eagle, it drew me to it. The skyrockets went off. You know, my heart started pounding. Eating eagle. And at that meeting, I met my major professor, who was at Louisiana State University, which has the best tropical ornithology program in the world. And so I was all set. Tropical ornithology, Philippine eagle, and so on. Well, when I went to Louisiana for and walked in the door, my major professor said, "Bob, I'm really sorry, but we don't think we can get you to the Philippines because we don't know any connections, we don't have any connections, and so on. But we have worked in South America, and if you want to study another eagle called the harpy eagle, which is the ecologically equivalent of the Philippine eagle, we can get you down there to do that." So I started to write colleagues. I said, "Oh, shucks, I really want to go to the Philippines, but if that is not going to happen, okay." Now remember, I'm only 22 years old at this time. Okay, I was just 22 years old. So I started to write colleagues, and one of my colleagues at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. wrote back and said, "Bob, we don't know anything about harpy eagles or have any connections, but are you aware that there is a Peace Corps, a Smithsonian Peace Corps environmental program, and we are looking for a biologist to go to the Philippines to help the government launch a program for the monkey-eating eagle." Okay? So serendipity number one was meeting the eagle in the museum. Serendipity number two was the Peace Corps providing my ready-made program for me to come here to do my doctoral dissertation. So those things just don't happen out of the blue. There's something, maybe my Philippine Eagle past, that was drawing me to it. Okay, so I came here as a Peace Corps volunteer, and I traveled all over Mindanao. At that time, I focused on Mindanao because that's where most of the eagles are found. And I went from Davao, I was living in Davao, but I went all through the Cotabato provinces, the Zamboanga provinces, the Masami provinces, Davao provinces, and so on. And I gathered information about the population of the eagles. And that was one of the things. And I also was searching for a nest site all this time. And I never found an eagle's nest. And all that time I was looking for it. Well, if you recall in the history here on Mindanao, in the early 70s, this is the time when there were a lot of political and actually religious conflicts going on in Mindanao. And I went to one community in Upi, which was then South Cotabato. And in that community, over 300 people had been killed between religious conflicts between Muslims and Christians. Very tragic and events happened, and a dangerous place to visit. But an eagle had been captured there, and I went there to release that eagle back into the wild, and we did that. But the conflicts that were happening, I mean, there were often times when I would hear machine gun fire or gunshots or even explosions on Mindanao. And the Peace Corps felt it was unsafe for us to be certainly roaming around the mountains of Mindanao. So they ordered us out of the Mindanao after just 9 months of my 2-year appointment as a Peace Corps. Well, perhaps you might recall that there was another American that had to leave the Philippines at one point, but as that person was leaving, they made a very famous statement during World War II. Does anybody know what that statement was? Okay, yes, it was General Douglas MacArthur who said, "I shall return." And that was my motto when I left the country, that I shall return. I would not give up on my bird, your bird, your national bird. So I went back and I took on another dissertation topic, finished my doctorate. But as soon as I finished that, my goal was to return to the Philippines. So another serendipitous event happened. I was in Peru in 1975, and I was on expeditions into the mountains and rainforests of Peru in South America. And in Lima, Peru, was at a dinner party, and a member of USAID was at that party. And he was serving in Peru at that point, but he had been in British Guyana, another area in South America. And he said, and I told him about my interest in going back to the Philippines. And he said, well, and you know about these 3 photographers, these young guys that are crazy enough to climb the highest trees in the rainforest of Guyana to study the harpy eagle, that other bird that I was almost distracted to study. And the lead photographer of that, he gave me his name, and that was Neil Reddick, the person that put on the film, that was the main filmmaker in the film you saw. So Neil and 2 other photographers and I, we had the mission of coming to the Philippines. Neil had the photographic ability, And I knew the Philippines, I knew the Philippine Eagle, and so we formed a partnership and friendship that has lasted to this day. It's a very strong friendship. And our mission was to come back, to finish the research on the eagles, which was my job, and to document the eagles in film footage and photographic slides. And during that 18-month period, we filmed the eagles, and we produced about 50 kilometers of film footage, and we took over 25,000 slides of the eagles. Now, at that time, you had to have real film. You couldn't put up a cell phone and take a photo or a film, and you couldn't just take a picture and look at the picture. So the materials that we documented, we had to send back to, actually we were supported by National Geographic at the time, and we had to send it back to them, and we wouldn't see the results for several months, 3 or 4 months. So we didn't know if we were taking good pictures, we didn't know if we had the material we needed, but anyway. So after 18 months, we were satisfied that we had the necessary material. Now, we were, 3 of us were married at the time, and we were committed. I had a doctorate, Neil was a professional filmmaker, the other 2 were also. We worked here for 18 months for no salary at all. We had our expenses paid, we had food, our transportation covered, and so on. But just so you know that there's a little dedication involved in what we did. Now, why we were here, okay, I want to go back to another serendipitous event because it's very important. When I was at the College of William and Mary, just beginning as an ornithology student, I met a wildlife artist named John Ruthven. And John was very well known in central US. And he inspired me to be very interested in wildlife art. And then John and I communicated a few times after that, because I was a student and he was 30 years older than me. And it was years later that John contacted me and said, you know, the Armco Steel Corporation of Ohio is commissioning me to paint the Philippine monkey-eating eagle. And since you are, that I am, the world expert on the eagles, will you come and look at the painting and consult on it to be sure that it's accurate? And of course, you know, I was in awe of John Ruthven and what he had done. So I said, absolutely. And so I actually hitchhiked. I put my thumb out and hitchhiked 400 miles across the United States to visit John in where he lived in Ohio. Well, Armco Steel was partnering with the Mar Steel Corporation in Manila, and the painting was commissioned to give to President Marcos as a gift for the inauguration of their steel mill. And John Ruthven arranged for Neil Reddick and myself and our wives to be there during the celebration of the steel mill. And when they gave the painting to President Marcos, they invited us to attend. And that was a thrill because to be able to meet the president. But it also gave us an opportunity, kind of serendipitously, another opportunity to do something that we couldn't do normally. So when we met President Marcos, I had 2 objectives. One, I wanted to, the name monkey-eating eagle and the bird had been considered the national bird of the Philippines a couple of times. But congressmen and senators all said, we don't want a bird named the monkey-eating eagle as our national bird. I mean, the name alone was not inappropriate for a national bird. So the goal number one was to see if we can get the president to change the name from monkey-eating eagle to Philippine eagle. And I told him, you know, this is a bird that's found only in the Philippines, and that it eats monkeys, but it rarely, you know, it's not the primary food of the eagles. They eat many other things. They're opportunists, as you saw in the film, from snakes to bats to rats to owls. And, you know, the president sat back and was listening, and he said, you know, why is this called the monkey-eating eagle? And I said, well, you know, and I told him, but he said, if it's only found in the Philippines and it rarely eats monkeys, why don't we call it the Philippine eagle? Goal number one achieved. And by special presidential proclamation, he declared the name change from monkey-eating eagle to Philippine eagle. And that is the only bird name that I know of ever in the entire world that has been changed by a special presidential proclamation. So, very important. Two, we went on to say, you know, this is a magnificent bird found only here. You know, can you consider working with Congress to make the eagle the national bird of the Philippines? And he said, yes, I'll do that. But the name change was easy because he could declare it. But the national bird took time. It took time to evolve in the minds of everybody. So, but today it is the national bird. It was eventually voted to be the national bird. So accomplishment number two done, even though it was years later. So, and then finally, later on in the evening, we were at a dinner party at Malacanang, and my wife was there, and Imelda and Ferdinand Marcos, who were known for their singing ability, came around to our table. You know, my wife was, at that time, was only 24 years old, and I was 29. And here we were. They came around, and they serenaded us at our dinner table. And when the president left, he said to one of his friends, I want you to take care of these guys in the field. And all the women there were in awe that my wife had lived up in the mountains in a native hut type situation with, you know, pigs and chickens underneath. And my wife had to go walk down the logging road to a spout of water coming out of the side of the mountain where she would have to take a shower. And she wore a swimsuit because everybody in the community wanted to go see the American woman take a shower. So I'm getting sidetracked here. But anyway, so that led to major support to help the development of the captive breeding program, which was another aspect of our work. And the captive breeding program and the additional field work, and then eventually other events led to the development of an establishment of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, which is now 35 years old. Now, serendipitous event number, whatever, we had produced our first film on the eagles, and that was our primary goal was to produce a film that could be shown in the Philippines that would reach out to the people to help educate them about the eagles and to help in the development of the conservation program. So we came back to Manila in 1980, and Neil and myself and the two photographers, and we came back, but we knew we needed a Filipino voice in the film. We didn't want to be in it. Our goal was never to be in anything. We wanted all the credit to go to our colleagues, our Filipino colleagues, and so on. And so Philippine Airlines actually provided transportation for us to come back. And we were in the Philippine Airlines office, and we were talking to a vice president, and we told him what we needed, and he pulled in one of his colleagues, and she said, well, maybe my niece can help you. And that niece was Leia Navarro. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard her sing, but she had some very popular songs back at that time. She was a 22-year-old, very beautiful, dynamic, and she sang beautifully, and she had hit songs back then. And she agreed to do it, to narrate the film and to be on screen. So 2 days after she agreed to do this, we met, and we were in a forested setting, and she wrote her own script for what was when she was on screen. And we did that film in 2 days, the filming, and then went back and we put it all together. And that was called To Live and Be Free, the story of the Philippine eagle. And that film was used for over 3 decades by the Eagle Foundation to educate people about the eagles, and it was shown all over the country. And the film that you saw today is replacing that. It's upgrading it with a new theme, but it was meant to show you how the film was made, but to instill in you the pride of your national bird, the Philippine eagle. So, it was 50 years ago, on August 6th, a few days ago, that I arrived here. That's a half century that I have been devoted my life and my career to Philippine birds, and particularly to the Philippine eagle. And I hope you look at me not as an American, as a, non-Filipino, but remember, I was a Philippine eagle once, and I was a Filipino once in other lives. So I'm here to thank you all for joining in the cause to help protect, save, and work with all of your country to make sure that the Philippine eagle survives for today, tomorrow, and for as long into the future as possible. Thanks for listening to my story, and it's great to be here with you all. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. So by the way, we have one question from our social media platform from JC Gonzalez of UPLB. This is a question for Bob. Can we reintroduce captive-bred Mindanao eagles to Samar or Leyte, given they are in the same EBA? EBA.
What is EBA? Jason? Okay, endemic bird area. Is the question, can you introduce Mindanao birds to Samar and Leyte? Is that the question? Okay. There probably is gene flow between the two populations. That gene flow probably originates in Mount Hilong going to Samar. And there might be some Samar birds that come to Mindanao, but more likely they're dispersing to other places. So I would say, yes, that's a possibility. since they have occurred on Samar and Leyte, and as long as there's adequate habitat for them, I think that's a very real possibility. And, you know, the Eagle Foundation has bred the eagles in captivity. You saw Pagasa, the very first eagle that was bred in captivity. And now there are, what, 37 birds have been bred, or how many? 29 eagles that have been bred in captivity. These guys know how to breed eagles in captivity. So the eagle will never become extinct, but it could become extinct in the wild. But the insurance, you have the insurance policy that they will not become extinct. But the real goal of breeding the birds in captivity is to release them back into the wild. It would be a very, very sad state if only Philippine eagles occurred in cages. So I would say yes, that is a very real possibility. But I hope someday that you are able to do that. Okay. Any other questions? How many of you are students out there? How many students? Raise your hand. Is that? Okay. Well, you guys, you've got to have those serendipitous events happen in your life. Find out how you can, you know, search for that way that you can contribute to the future, not only of the Philippine eagle, but of the protecting the forest, the home of the Philippine eagle, and the home of all biodiversity, well, the forest and elsewhere in the Philippines. It doesn't matter whether you work underwater, above water, you know, in land or in the mountains. Do something to help the naturalness of your country survive for everybody and for the benefit of the wildlife there. You have the energy, you're getting the talent and the knowledge and the inspiration from your university here. So use that to make this world and the Philippines a better place for people and for wildlife. Okay? All right. So anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. I guess that's it.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
again,
you.
everybody.
Thanks again, Dr. Kennedy, for such an inspiring journey. This time, the Executive Director of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Mr. Dennis Salvador, and Dr. Robert Kennedy will give a token of appreciation to Father Saturnino Orius University. And now, to deliver the closing remarks on behalf of the Regional Director of DNR 13, Mr. Donato Tamayo, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the OIC of the Office of the Assistant Regional Director for Technical Services, Ms. Marites Ocampo. A round of applause, please.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to acknowledge this prestigious institution, Father Saturnino Orius University, through the University President, Father Yang, Father Jan Yang, for hosting this event in support to the Philippine Eagle Conservation in Caraga region. Also to Mr. Dennis Salvador, the Executive Director of the Philippine Eagle Foundation, for enlightening the public on the significance of the Philippine Eagle. I also would like to acknowledge here the presence of Bishop Cosme Damian Almedelia, the Roman Catholic Diocese of Butuan. Mayong buntag. Secondly, I'd want to thank you all, the speakers from the Philippine Eagle Foundation, Dr. Jason Ibanez, of course, the first person that I've heard saying that he feels in love with our Philippine Eagle, Dr. Robert Kennedy, who travels far just to be here with us today, to challenge us, to steer our emotions, to form part of our struggle to keep our Philippine Eagle thrive in our country. Thank you, Sir Bob. To the session facilitator and host, if issue you once again, thank you for organizing this public talk. Most importantly, I'd like to thank all the participants. I think we have participants coming from the different walks of life, like the other government agencies, students, teachers. This is a challenge to all of us. If this foreigner learned how to love our Philippine Eagle, I think we have to learn also to love our own national bird. I believe the Philippine Eagle Conservation Program by the Department of the Environment and Natural Resources has touched people's lives in various ways, reminding them of their responsibilities as land stewards and the importance of the Philippine eagle and other wildlife species in supporting life on Earth. As such, I am optimistic and certain that the lectures provided in connection with this event, entitled AgiLAYA Campaign in Caraga Region, Lasting Freedom for the Philippine Eagles, would remind us to take a stand and chart a road that will take us to the next level of truly appreciating the predicament of our national bird. We also like to thank our partner, the Philippine Eagle Foundation, for their unwavering support in the DNR's initiative. They have been providing technical assistance during the Philippine Eagle's rescue and retrieval efforts. In fact, 5 Philippine Eagles were transported to the Philippine Eagle Center in Davao City for rehabilitation. Unfortunately, 2 eagles, si Bagat and Raja Kabungsuan, were already released in the wild. And as we close this momentous activity, we hope that this will be a new beginning, a turning point that we will encourage everyone to learn and support not only for the preservation of the Philippine eagle, but the Republic Act 9147, the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, as we advocate for more public action to prevent further devastation and loss of Philippine wildlife. Public action and cooperation in wildlife protection is really a must that would aid the government's campaign to combat wildlife trafficking and other crimes against natural resources. I would say that we at the DENR, our hands are full. We have a lot of responsibilities concerning environment from ridge to reef. We need people, we need you to be with us, to be an advocate, to help us, to serve as a mouthpiece, especially for our Philippine eagle. So, thank you. At isang makakalikasang umaga po sa ating lahat. Sa Binisaya pa, makinayahong buntag ka natong tanan. Daghan kayong salamat.
Thank you, Mama Marites. So before ending this program, I would like to inform everyone that Certificate of attendance will be given by the Secretariat at the end of this program. So that ends the Caraga launch of AgiLAYA. So to our valued guests and participants, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. So this has been Lauren Grace Haranilla Ananciado. Thank you very much, and may this start the spread of seeds of hope for awareness and conservation of the Philippine eagle. So daghang salamat ug maayong buntag sa tanan. Hello. Okay, to our participants for today's program, you may come in front if you want to take photo opportunity with Dr. Kennedy. Yes, and we will be conducting it per group. Okay, so we start with faculty from Father Saturnino Orius University. So we start with faculty of Father Saturnino Orius University, and then students. Wait, let's have the faculty members first. Okay, faculty members of Father Saturnino